It's the year 1930. Popular activities include watching baseball, listening to the radio, and smoking. Now, even though some health concerns are starting to come up because of the hacking cough caused by smoking coffin nails, as cigarettes were called, the tobacco industry artfully cleaned up this PR crisis by crying out that health experts approve of their brand, and even physicians smoke it. So how could it possibly lead to this thing called lung cancer? And that didn't go over so well. I bring this up because of the parallels between 1930 and today. Although instead of big tobacco, we're talking about the food industry. Specifically, how health experts have been misleading us about the safety of our food supply, poisoning millions and millions of Americans. Sounds familiar? Today we'll be talking about how a potentially deadly loophole in the system first came to be, the many issues created by food companies abusing it, and how in 2025 the loophole might be about to close. But before we get started, make sure to subscribe down below. And while you're down there, definitely download my completely free guide on which ingredients to avoid at the grocery store. As most things do, the generally recognized as safe label initially started out as a good idea. First proposed in the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938, it stemmed from the concept that substances used in food could be considered safe if they had been used for a long time or if there was a lot of evidence proving that it was safe. Remember this initial concept because it will be very important later on in the video. The goal of GRAS was to streamline already very commonly consumed foods. Since retesting ingredients like garlic seemed completely pointless, the thought process was that, well, people haven't been dying from eating butter for the past 100 years, so we're probably good to keep eating it. But as we know, the food supply of 1938 quickly evolved as new chemicals started to be added into foods, which then led to the Food Additives Amendment in 1958. This amendment required all chemicals, additives, and preservatives to be tested by third parties before they could be used in foods. This is terrific news. No additive would be left untested, no rock would be left unturned, the American population is saved. But then 1997 happened. The underfunded and overwhelmed FDA wanted to allow new products to come to market, but they lacked the resources to test them themselves. So what did they do instead, you might ask? They let the food companies creating these chemicals test the safety of their products for themselves. Yes, you heard me right. It's kind of like asking a student to grade their participation in a group project. Yeah, maybe you were farting around the whole time doing absolutely nothing, but you circle that 10 out of 10 participation with confidence because of course you do. You're grading yourself. It's the same concept here. Since 1997, food companies have been hiring their own scientists to test the safety of their products, and you really think they're gonna come out and say, yeah, this product is actually carcinogenic to animals? No, they're gonna say no conclusive results were found, because of course they are. You might be thinking that this could lead to some possible abuse by these food companies, and you would be right. Brominated vegetable is a food additive that was used in citrus sodas like Mountain Dew. And I say was because it's not anymore, thankfully. But I want you guys to keep this ingredient in mind just to realize how messed up the system has become in the past 30 years. According to CNN, nearly 99% of new chemicals used in food or food packaging since 2000 were greenlit for use not by the FDA, but by the food and chemical industry. This just really shows how hands-off the FDA has been since the new rule was implemented in 1997. The FDA doesn't even give GRAS labels anymore, and food companies have just abused the crap out of this. By now you're probably thinking, hang on Julia, you are full of crap. The FDA of course regulates food companies, right? And yes, if an ingredient is later found out to be unsafe or have misleading data, the FDA can pull it from the food supply and take away its generally recognized as safe status. But remember brominated vegetable oil? In 1970, BVO was declared no longer GRAS by the FDA. Great! now the product is out of the food supply, right? It only got banned in 2024. Yes, for 54 years after the product was deemed unsafe, it was still allowed to be in our foods. Or what about food dye? The bright red number 3 was finally banned this January, but scientists have known that it's linked to cancer in animals for 30 years. What other chemicals are out there secretly causing us harm while hiding under this label of generally recognized as safe? Why are we acting as the human guinea pigs, eating food that makes us sick because food companies were too cheap to legitimately do the experiments in the first place? And the worst part of all is that the food system currently treats chemicals as innocent until proven guilty, meaning that you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this product is causing harm, which is an incredibly approach to our most valuable asset, our health. But this all might be coming to an end very soon. After facing criticism from experts for nearly 70 years, the generally recognized as safe label is finally coming under some scrutiny. Thank God. The Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has been in the news recently for directing the FDA to eliminate the GRAS loophole. And surprisingly, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. Besides the food industry, of course, saying that it's gonna stifle innovation and it's gonna be harder to bring new foods to the market. And no. You guys have had your moment. No, stop. Just a week ago, Secretary Kennedy posted on the official HHS Instagram saying that he has just directed the FDA commissioner to start changing the rules for new ingredients coming to market so that they won't be able to go through the self-affirmed GRAS pathway. According to the HHS, the new process means that food companies would have to publicly notify the FDA of their intended use of such ingredients, along with the underlying safety data, which sounds amazing, but it gets even better. The Secretary of Health also directed the FDA and NIH, the National Institute of Health, to increase post-market assessments of GRAS foods currently in the market so that they can identify and remove any that are making Americans sick. I can't even lie, when I first read this, I was doing backflips with how excited I was. But before we start thinking that the American food supply is miraculously and immediately just going to clean up, we need to think critically and ask ourselves, what is actually going to change? As with all things in food politics, there are a lot of things that we will have to go up against before we can truly eliminate this problem. Unfortunately, it's not going to be solved overnight. I believe that if the FDA does start testing all the chemicals currently in our food supply, a couple things will happen. First of all, most of the foods will probably remain in stores while this testing is going on. Unfortunately, as much as I wish we could, we can't just completely disrupt the food system on day one by pulling everything out. Another thing that will happen is that the FDA will face huge backlash from lobbyists and big food companies that have gotten away with this low effort, low cost approach for so long. But as long as this remains a large public issue that Americans care about, the big food industry won't have any ground to stand on. Which is why, if you're enjoying this video so far, I would kindly ask that you share it so that we can spread the message and spread awareness. By making it such a well-known topic that people care about, big food will have to step back. Awareness really is the first step. I bet you didn't know that we have about 10,000 chemicals in our food supply, because I didn't either. It's going to take a lot of time and money before everything is properly tested, so in the meantime, don't forget to download my ingredient guide on things to look out for. It's completely free in the description. I believe that the food industry's generally recognized as safe reign of terror is finally coming to an end, but it's now more important than ever to become educated so that we don't become complacent. The food industry will never be perfect though, but if you want to learn how you can take back control of your food supply, then don't forget to subscribe down below, and we can learn together about how convoluted the food industry is and how to make food by yourselves at home, even though it's a little bit less convenient than just going to the store and buying it. If you guys like this video, then definitely make sure to give it a thumbs up, and as always, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys next time.